can't start over. A young woman came into my office and told me she was miserable at her job. She said her boss was terrible, she wasn't happy, she was making fine money, but she didn't see a future for herself, and she had to get out and had to get out fast. Now, I dissuaded her from quitting that very moment, but she felt stuck. She'd already put herself in a track where she was sort of stuck. She couldn't get out of it. She felt like she was being compressed by the weight of the enormity of it all, and she just wanted to quit and start over. So how do you make the transition when you've already done something in one direction? You've gone to graduate school, you've gone to college, this is your major. How do you switch into something completely different? We're going to talk today about the science of the career switch. How do you make a move that you don't have to start over and move back up the chain again? Now, the important thing to realize that the research shows is that there's a hesitancy about hiring someone who's a career switcher or an industry switcher because you don't have a clear picture that they're committed to that field. There's a hesitancy to say maybe there's someone who is just a career tourist. That's what you want to avoid. So how do you do that in a way that doesn't make you start over? Because the traditional path is to say, well, if someone is just sort of an industry tourist just checking it out, we're going to start them at the bottom and have them prove their way up. And if you've already been advancing in one thing, one area, you don't want to start over. You want to transition laterally or continue to accelerate. So how do you make that switch? Well, this is the importance of the creation event. One of the things that we learned that worked magically for people that are career switchers is they found a way for themselves to demonstrate their purpose and their passion in that new industry without necessarily having worked in it. How does it work? Well, here's the important thing to understand is that you're looking for 3 core things to be able to demonstrate to your future bosses in a new industry that you're not just a looky-loo tourist. You're looking to show 3 things. Number 1, you're trying to show some sort of a depth behind it, something really interesting to this sort of thing, something you've invested about 6 to 12 months in. How do you do that? You want to showcase a commitment to something. Number 2, you also want to show that you've built a connection to people, sort of a network of people around you. You know other people in it that can vouch for you. And number 3, you want to showcase something that this is a long-term perspective and you develop depth into it. So what is the ways that we found to do that one? Well, most importantly is don't necessarily just quit your job and try and jump into it and make your way in. You're going to need to demonstrate something through what we oftentimes see as a creation event. These are things that are 6 to 12 months investment that you're going to make to showcase your passion, your persistence in that field. I oftentimes describe this as the side hobby, the thing that you're going to do to sort of stand out in that way. So what are some of the examples that we've seen? Well, one of them we've seen is someone to launch a podcast talking about a new industry or space, a 12-episode podcast, or perhaps you're going to write an article series, maybe a 10-part article series. Take a project like a book, write a book about this new industry, or do something that allows you to demonstrate it by putting together a video show, doing some kind of research that you're going to publish, something that's going to allow you to showcase that depth. Now again, you may be thinking, well, I've got my day job, how do I do this? Well, that's the other interesting thing about the magic of the career switch is that it's one of those things that you can do in about 3 to 4 hours per week. So back to that woman who came into my office freaking about her boss and her job. How did she make the switch? Well, she started throwing around crazy ideas like maybe I should do a startup company or maybe I should go back to graduate school. And I said, calm down a second. Let's start out. Where do you want to go? She's like, well, listen, I really want to work in the travel industry. Awesome. Start there. Let's figure out what you could create. And she started working on a book. She started working on a book that allowed her to explore things, to meet people, to interview people, including the CMO of one of the largest hotel companies. That interview was something that was really important because suddenly a job posting came up that she potentially could fit her way into, and by having this concept of the interviews she'd done, the work she'd done in a book, and even just the early thinking about it, she was able to stand out and not have to start over and work her way up, but in fact accelerate into another position. That's the power of the creation event for career switchers. You find a way to develop depth outside of your other job and do it on the side. So instead of saying like, I'm gonna quit and find another job or I'm gonna start from scratch, spend time, stay at your existing job, be miserable miserable for a little bit, go home at night and work on your creation event that can be your transition tool. Look for something that allows you to build a network with people, connect in that way, showcase depth. It's going to be something that'll probably take you 6 to 12 months, and showcase to others this is something you care about in the long run. Something that's going to take you to invest a little bit of time and money to do that one. So if you're feeling stuck and you want to make an entire shift, you don't necessarily need to go back to graduate school, you don't necessarily need to start over, but you may be able to use a creation event as that tool to accelerate you into a new field. And that's the science of the career transition.